Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Chris. Wow, what a weekend. Right before the holidays. It's getting crazy. Today, Trump's big announcement, was it really his social media thing or was it the NFTs? I've heard both sides. I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle because I get it. Like maybe the whole NFT thing was, you know, his pre-big announcement, and then of course he went on with his big announcement, which is basically the same thing he was saying while he was in office. It was literally the same thing about the social media companies and this and that. The whole Twitter files is a big load of nothing, in my opinion. It's like hilarious, actually, because the funny part is both sides were doing the same thing. Twitter, the Biden campaign was asking for the photos of Hunter Biden to be taken down, which were a violation of Twitter's rules as it was. But then the Trump administration was asking for the same kind of things. But the difference is the Trump administration was actually in the White House. So if one side was doing wrong, I mean, if you're talking about the government working with Twitter, that was literally the government asking Twitter to do something, which again is what apparently was the big hullabaloo. But anyway, all these crazy things keep happening. It's funny because, as we go into the new year, the hype starts up about, different metals and things like that. And it ends up just being more of the same. It's kind of interesting because it doesn't seem like there's any, like there were for years. There was all kinds of different series of coins coming out. There was a lot of hype about them. I mean, even like simple things like the pandas and the kookaburras and, like even this actual series like the Black Flag pirate ones, and there seemed to be so much more hype on those kind of things than there is now. It kind of seems like everybody's kind of in investing mode at this point, or wealth preservation mode with silver. My thing though on the investment platform is I really, as time passes, I really start to see, like, unless you're doing numismatic or collectibles, the investment aspect just isn't there. I mean, realistically, think about it this way. If you're investing, you want to pay the least possible price, right? You want to get, the most bang for your buck. The way to do that is to use the paper product, to use literally like ETFs or, paper silver. If you're trying to just turn it over for more dollars. Now, if you're looking for the protection aspect and wealth accumulation, then that's when you would use, physical. But I don't think the two mix. I honestly don't see the investment aspect of like gold and silver in the physical form because the premiums are too high and you don't get back that premium when you go to sell. So right off the bat, you're underwater and you're again going to take a hit on the way out. Whereas with paper silver, I mean, you can pretty much trade it to your heart's delight. So for me, if you're, a silver trader or a silver investor, the better way to do it is just to buy the paper. Well, the market could crash and again, is that possible? Yeah, but I mean, it's also theoretically possible that silver could be completely worthless. No, that's impossible. No, I mean, it's technically possible, right? Just like everything's technically possible. Is one more likely than the other? Yeah, you're probably right. But again, if we're going to speak in hypotheticals, anything is possible. We can go as ridiculous as we want with it. Speaking of ridiculous, I had somebody again the other day telling me about the BRICS nations and how they're going to rise up and overthrow the US dollar as the world reserve currency. And then I watched Yankees video. I mean, is it even Yankees channel anymore? I mean, Tim should just have a webcam at his shop and just, we can hear about how, the lefties are going to ruin everything and they're ruining everything in the world's, the lefties, it's the leftists. They're the bane of all existence. Hilarious. I mean, Tim's kind of stuck in that 50s mode. I feel like the world started to leave Tim behind, and as good of a guy as he may be, his views are just like, wow, like really, like if you say those kind of things in front of the camera, I can only imagine what you say behind closed doors. But I mean, that's fine, right? That's the whole point of it being America. You can say whatever you want. Anyway, the funny thing I was thinking about was that, this person was telling me about how the BRICS nations are going to rise up and they're going to band together and the world's just going to switch over to this, this new currency that they're going to come out with. And then I started, asking them, okay, Well, if that's going to happen, I mean, who's going to be the military powerhouse there? Is it going to be Russia? Because they're getting embarrassed on the world stage. And make no mistake, their economy is just, I mean, as it was before the Ukraine war, their economy is the size of Texas's economy. So as an economic powerhouse, it's probably not the kind of place you're going to be looking to get any stability from. But then on top of that, the only aspect of their country that they had, you know, to kind of hold over everyone's head, other than obviously they have nuclear weapons, it was that they, you know, were a military powerhouse. Well, how's that looking? How's that looking? Is that like the kind of country you think is gonna, you know, go out to project power to back up that currency? Make no mistake, the reason the United States is the world reserve currency, other than, you know, ingeniously they established that Bretton Woods system at a time where they were, and still are, the world's dominant military power. But that's what it is. I mean, the bottom line is, what is the enforcement mechanism of the dollar? It's the promise of the United States military. And that's the same thing with the petrodollar. Anytime there's issues with oil or this and that, guess who is there to protect oil? The United States military, the Navy, the da-da-da. That's what it's for. That's what it's for, to keep that status as, you know, the world's dominant power. And other countries just aren't even close. I mean, you could say like, oh, China has a 3 billion man army, and I mean, okay, I could see that. I can see that, you know, China obviously is very interested, and they play the long game in being the dominant power. But I think the biggest thing to be said for the United States military, and again, I'm not ex-military, so you can go ahead and pick that apart. But the biggest thing I would say is that for a country that's basically been at war for its entire existence, the biggest thing for the United States military is not, you know, we have the most of this or we have the most of that. It's the fact that we've used the weapons constantly, weapons, tactics, constantly evolving strategy on a grand scale forever. And so, you know, basically, like, you can have all the guns you want, you can have all the, but if you're not actively using them against you know, motivated enemies, I mean, I definitely don't think, you know, it's the threat that people would like to make out to see with like the whole BRICS nations things. I actually kind of think it's a kind of a joke at this point. It's kind of hilarious. And, you know, while the dollar may not be the perfect system, actually one commenter made a really good point, Anna T, on one of my videos previously about, you know, how gold and silver really wouldn't work as a transactional currency. And one of the things that she brought to light, and I was like, yes, exactly. It's like she took it to a different level. What I was trying to say was that basically the days of like responsible fiscal management on like a national scale, on like what's the word? sovereign finance, those days are gone. Those days are gone. Without the advent of like the credit markets and like mass liquidity, we wouldn't have all the things that we do have. We wouldn't have, you know what I mean? You wouldn't be able to back a currency with a physical aspect like gold or silver and be able to have all the things that we do have. If you notice, that's why, like, you know, consumerism has taken over the last 100 years or whatever it is because it's basically like a quantum leap as far as like the mechanism of trade. And it's pretty crazy to think about. I mean, there's always been credit, right? I mean, ships back in the day used to sail with, you know, on credit and blah, blah, blah. But the level of credit that exists in the environment that we're in now is so massive, but it's also the measure of the wealth that we have, the physical things that we have. If we were still on a physical backed currency, it just could not exist at the same level. There just wouldn't be the potential for the same amount of wealth. It'd be very different. And it's funny because when you think about it, when you try to like wrap your head around it, you think back to, you know, obviously there's been kings and queens and rich people since time immemorial. But the thing is that the level of wealth now of even the average person is just so phenomenally higher than, you know, than it's ever been. And that's really the point, is the standard of living for the masses has changed because of that credit aspect, because of that fiat aspect. and it just wouldn't have been the same with a physically backed currency. Let me know what you think. See you later.